talk about boutonnieres and different techniques of how to create a boutonniere. So most of you, I'm sure, know how to do the typical wiring and taping technique for a boutonniere. We talked about a little earlier, the old-fashioned way where you did the little curly cue up, and now we're seeing the trend to wanting to add the accessories to cover up some of those mechanics. So whether you use the nice designer wires or different wraps or different ways, ribbons, of course, to match, just make sure that you finish all of those mechanics off. So stems exposed are still a good thing. People are liking that as well. I want to introduce you to what Fitz calls the designer disc. And there are lots and lots of different uses for this, but it's one of those plastic flanges, just like you saw on the corsages, and it has a magnet in the center, and it comes with this magnetic back. As Sarah and I just realized, Fitz just debuted this new type. You can see in these old ones that I did, they used to be rectangular shaped, and now they're a circle. So there's not quite as much that you have to cover up, which is nice depending on the style that you want to do. But they're super easy to work with, and they just stick right through a jacket just like that, okay, for the guys' lapels. The only thing I want you, when you work with these, to be cautious of is the weight that you're putting on them, because it is a magnet, and when it goes through thick fabric, you know what I mean, you want to make sure that it holds on and holds on tightly. I actually have a wedding planner that prefers all of her boutonnieres are this way. Do you know why? She does not like to pin them on. So every time she comes in, I automatically know this is what she's going to get, this style, just because she doesn't, and who hates to see the professional photographs come back and the boutonniere is sideways or just. Now, if you offer the service to pin the boutonnieres on, that's definitely an upsell that you can charge to make sure that you have a staff member there to service the wedding, is what we call it, which we do that for some of our higher dollar weddings. We offer that service where that means we have a person on staff just as kind of an insurance policy. If something comes apart, if glue separates, or if a head gets broken in a bouquet, we can insert another one. So it's a little insurance, little peace of mind. But you have to make sure that you charge for that staff member to be there all day, right? But it's nice because when the photographs come back, the girls are holding their bouquets at the appropriate place, not like this as they go down the aisle. You keep them down where your hips are, things like that. So any little tips and techniques you can share with people, you definitely do. But this is the way that a lot of the boutonnieres are going to, if you don't want to pin them on, is the magnets. You can see here there are lots and lots of different ways. Sarah and I talked yesterday about the emergence of anemone coming into the marketplace, really hot and heavy. A lot of our girls are asking for that, especially in wedding work. And a lot of this will spill over to weddings because, like I said, a lot of it goes hand in hand. You don't only have to sew for prom, you can also do it for wedding as well. But they're beautiful when they're face front. They're not pretty when you look at them to the side. People want to see that dark center in the middle. So these design discs are perfect for making a boutonniere with an anemone because you want to see the center of the face. You can see here I kind of did the same idea with, I just glued a couple of leaves here, and then I just glued the succulent right on. So succulents are really popular. The only thing about that, I would make sure the weight is not too heavy because succulents can get pretty heavy. But there is one style with the design disc. This is another style with the design disc. I showed you earlier how I do a lot of ribbon techniques that way. And these are one of the funnest things I found. It's kind of like a kid in a candy store when you come to a wholesaler, because especially if you've never been there, you look around, you go shopping, and you think, what can I use that for? And like I said, I have more ideas than I do time. But they have these great little mini succulents that are on a little bitty, kind of like a little mini bush, and clip them apart. And I only used 2 in all of this that I did today, and you'll see a bunch coming up a little bit later. But I just simply glued them right on and kind of created a little grid pattern just to kind of give that little dynamic and that focal here. And of course it's not done until it has a little bling in it. So we added a little bit of this decorative chain right down the front. And the chain is super light. And there's different styles of it and things like that. I just chose this one because I like to have a little inverted pattern with the way that the ribbon's cut. So different ways. There's diamond shape, there's circles, there's all kind. And like I said, they're lightweight to just add on, and they come in yards and yards on a roll. So you're able to get a lot of mileage for your money for that. And they're really inexpensive. So definitely a nice little way to accent for a boutonniere. And then this one is the quickest, easiest thing, but it's very stylish. Have you ever, I know you all have, with the exception of the fella in the back, but us women talk about things like this, okay? But have you ever walked into a room, you're standing in the elevator or something, and you smell great cologne? You're like, gosh. And you immediately think, God, he must have it together. Not overdone, but he just smells so nice. Or he's got a tailored suit on, or, you know, if he's got the mixed patterns going on and he's doing it well. There are men who love to be in fashion, and they love to be trend forward, and they love to be stylish. And a lot of those guys, you can tell by what they wear. You know, do they wear sneakers and hoodies all the time, or do they wear, you know, a little suit or a little vest or something like that? But think about guys like that when you want to match something that the girl has. So there's absolutely no floral in this boutonniere whatsoever, but there doesn't have to be. Because I wanted to use a little pearl accent and this lacy leaf, and it's a great little boutonniere. You can see here I use the wraps, which are an easy and quick. Now you can make this up weeks and weeks ahead of time, but you can see here all of the wraps come in different colors. They come in different sizes. I think they come in like 12 different colors or so. They have them all on the wall out in the showroom. You can see. So I just have this little piece, and I'll just demonstrate this really quickly. But they come long rolls like this, and I would recommend getting a little bitty tiny pair of scissors, because big scissors are hard to get in between the notches and the holes. It's just a grid pattern. And if you're like me, you're a creative kid, you cannot cut a straight line to save your life, right? I can never cut a straight line. But there's cheat sheets, and these are nice because they're gridded. So they're a grid pattern, so you can see you can cut a straight line because you just cut in between. So that helps people like me. But a fun way you can finish off a detail. On this boutonniere, I just simply did a little square, just to mainly cover up, because I had the square design disc. But you can come in and you can cut what we call fringe. And I'm just simply coming along the grid pattern, and I'm just cutting a few pieces a little shorter and shorter. And you can count them to see to kind of make sure that you're uniform with what you're cutting. Like so. And you can see you can just do different patterns at the bottom. Like I said, we call this fringe just because it's separated. You don't have to separate it. You can just simply cut in a straight pattern. You don't have to cut it up to let it kind of have a little movement. But you can do different things that way and kind of have fun with it. You can even, if you pay attention, you can even cut a little heart pattern out of this. So there's so many different things you can do with this, and it's great to play around with it. They have these wraps on sale, I noticed back there. Especially, I don't know if you heard, but all of the corsage and things are 20% off if you buy today. So if you're looking in the market to kind of do your little display in your shop, or you want to get something to try and go home and play with, today is the time to do it. 20% off. We always love a bargain, especially if we want to have something to play. And they also have, which a lot of wholesalers don't do this, so this is nice for you. They have little grab bags over here, which are just odd end pieces. If you want to do display in your shop, or you want to just play, then you can get some of this, because sometimes if you have turquoise wraps or something like that, you maybe not necessarily need a whole long roll. You just need a little piece. So definitely kind of pay attention around different things like that. So, but like I said, this is really easy, super easy, and not everything has to have a flower. It's more the creativity that you do with it. And you use these extra pieces like the lacy leaves and things like that. So the design disc can be your friend. You just have to embrace it. And if you missed earlier in the gluing demo, if you take a knife and you score the flange just a little bit, right now it's smooth, but it's the same principle. Your knife will, as you drop it. But if you score the plastic just a little bit, the glue adheres to it much better. There's also holes in this disc. I don't know if you've ever looked that much, but if you do need to attach something with wire on there, or there's just a few holes to help you do something like that. If you ever have a flange that's missing on a bracelet or anything, you can definitely just take the magnet off and use this to go right on. I don't watch The Bachelor, but does anybody here watch The Bachelor? Yeah? Don't they use boutonniere magnets? See, they don't pin them on, so there's your selling technique, because most girls watch The Bachelor. So, and actually that's how my wedding friend knew to ask for magnets. So, they are a little more expensive than if you just wire and tape, so you want to make sure that you incorporate that into the cost of your boutonniere. So, we keep plenty of these on hand, because they're just great for everything, not just boutonnieres, but a great little tool that Fitz has for use. They also have what they call easy pins. And this is sort of that safety net for pinning a boutonniere in as well, for our wedding planners that don't like to have to push the corsage pin in and pull it out, and they always get bent, and put some extra ones in the corsage box just to make sure. They come in 2 different sizes. They already have the pins straight lined on the back, and they have little bitty, this little foam actually has some pre-cut little holes for these to go into, where you can just simply stick them right in. But they just go right into the lapel, and then you just stick that right in, and it's on there just like that. So it's kind of a foolproof way to not to shift, because sometimes if your boutonnieres get heavy, this is a good option to use, because you can definitely, how you wire and tape, and you tape down to the bottom, you can just incorporate this as a backing. Even if you don't glue anything to this, you can still adhere it to the back and tape it all as one piece. Does that make sense? You don't have to glue with this one. But you can see here, oh, that's the wrong one, that's the one. This is a small one, and you can see I just glued a few little leaves to the back, and then I added my calla stem, my little mini calla. The stem is actually still on here. I just floral taped it all the way down, and then I came through with a little bit of ribbon just to finish off the detail, just so you didn't see all the corsage tape. And you would just pin this back straight in just like this, and you add a little detail, a little accent of that pearl onto the top, a little greenery, and a simple little boutonniere. But this is definitely a new way to do a corsage. That's the mini, and then this is the grande. And this would be if you had something larger, or whether it be a succulent or a bigger orchid. But you can see I just simply glued on the large Xanadu leaf there, added a little bit of bling, because it's not Fitz until it has a little something shiny in it, right? And added a little orchid. And instead of wrapping the stem with the floral tape and then covering it with the ribbon, I simply just glued ribbon strips on there just to cover up that plastic bottom. So you can always cut the bottom off if you don't need the bottom and you just want the top square. They just put that on there, so it's you know, typically people see a boutonniere as a linear piece like this, but if you didn't want to use a magnet and you wanted to do this style, you necessarily wouldn't have to have the long part. You can just cut it off. So always make sure that you keep that in mind. And then Fitz has an abundance of these super nice specialty boutonniere pieces, and this is called the Grecian, with just a little bit of fern accented through, and these 3 little baby succulents added on. So when you have something like this, you don't necessarily want to cover it up. It's to be exposed. It's for people to see the patterns and such. And it has a magnet on the back, so it comes with it. So it's very, very strong. So you can see, you just put it right on the lapel, and just and it'll be there all day long, just like that. So different ways to do these. There are some. I'll cheat to my next segment real quick. Let me grab one. So this is another style of a boutonniere piece that Fitz offers. This is very rhinestone blingy one, and you can see I just simply glued up into that piece. If you do wiring and taping, you can shove that down inside there and make sure it's thick enough to lock. And if you want to finish the detail at the base, however you want to. There's different ones that have an open weave, so you could like loop the grass through there. You can do all kind of different techniques. I really think that boutonnieres are like the cherry on top, if that makes sense. You know, they're definitely a way that you can be creative and you tie things together. You always like a nice, beautiful package. And when you have the corsages that girls spend, you know, tens, hundreds of dollars on, you want to have a complimentary piece to it. And boutonnieres are an easy sell. They're easy. You know, we talk about upselling shoes and purses and things like that. And those are for some girls, but they're not for everybody. But most people will definitely have a boutonniere. So always upsell because it makes your package look complete. You don't want to send, you know, sweatpants out with a fancy top, right? So you definitely want to make it the cherry on top and have fun with it. I think, you know, doing a lot of weddings and events, when I get to the part of the boutonnieres, some of my competitors, all the boutonnieres are the same. Like if you get a boutonniere, it's a mini calla, little loop of lily grass, Larobian, that's it. But with me, like, I have fun with that part, and I think that's one of the things that sets me apart from everybody else. We really pay attention to the detail of our boutonnieres. It's not just a quick and easy, get it done, move on. Like, we really pay attention to how we finish it and the little accents that we add in. Fitz has an amazing abundance of little sparkles that you can put in there, chains you can hang out of them. But everything is appropriate for different weddings. So Sarah, yesterday we were talking, and she said, "You have the most organic bling I think I've ever seen." And coming from where I am, I'm not a huge blingy person. You know, I'm more pearls, a little more subdued in that style. But I think just a little sparkle and a little shine is perfect. If you wear a black dress, you don't want to have a beautiful, beautiful necklace to show off. You want to have a beautiful wrist corsage. So we do some of the fancier galas and balls in town in Birmingham, and one year one of the directors of the Point Ball, which is our Alabama Ballet Gala, she had a little black dress, and I had worked with her throughout the whole thing, and she said, "Hey, I want to, instead of buying a new dress, I'm going to wear an older dress that I have, but I want you to make me just some fabulous something to wear." So I made a beautiful necklace, and it had fresh flower orchids, and it was just stunning. It was really pretty. And she was so thrilled when she picked it up. Complimentary to her. So you can make or break the bank, but you definitely want to make sure that you take advantage of those opportunities, because I've done the Point Ball for the last 5 years. And that time that it was just kind of a thank you to her, but it was also a way for me to show people what I could do. So we have made 4 necklaces for other people since then that go to that Point Ball because they saw hers. When the press came that night to that ball and did a feature story on the Point Ball, and of course she was the director and things like that, they have a picture, a group shot of everyone, and then they have a close-up of her and her husband. And what do you think people look at? This. And it really helped us kind of open that door in our marketplace to things like that. It gave me press for it. It gave me a thing to show people, like, hey, if she'll do it. You know, it's not too out of the box. It's not too different. So think about those little details that you can do that help tie things in. And Fitz is a great company that has wonderful products to help you facilitate making those things. Later on, we have floral jewelry coming up. We have rings. We have necklaces, shoe accents, things like that. So when we talk about prom, that's where generally most people can fit in some of this bling and things like that, but you definitely don't want to forget about your weddings as well. Mother of the brides are a great upsell for all those nice bracelets. So, any questions about boutonnieres? Yes, ma'am.
You talked about exposing the stems on the bottom. Well, we had trouble with that last year with Wholesale. How do you keep your flowers if you're not wiring and taping them?
I think it depends on maybe what type of flower you're using.
Okay.
I'm real particular in what we put in boutonnieres. Like, I don't ever do a hydrangea boutonniere, a fresh hydrangea boutonniere. There's some beautiful permanents, and I know here at Pioneer they have the nice upscale, nice varieties for weddings and things like that, or prom. But if you're worried about it, if you leave the stem exposed, you can still put it into water. You can just take like a little votive cup or something like that and stand your boutonniere in the up and just put a little bit of water in the bottom so the stems are actually touching the water. So that way they still have a water source even if they're already put together. when you snip a flower, you always want to attach that cold glue to where you cut the stem where it was exposed to help seal it in. So that will help too. So if you wire a tape all the way down, you're cutting the water source off for the most part anyway if you tape to the bottom. So it's almost better to have them exposed if you want to. If you make them up a couple of days in advance, depending on how the quantity that you have to make, you might keep them all standing up and then come back and wrap them with the ribbon detail as the day gets closer or the morning of.